स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया सर्वविद्या स्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहम्। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्म सम्प्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। मन्नाथ श्री जगन्नाथो मद्गुरु श्री जगद्गुरुः ममात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम। शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणि नमोस्तुते नारायणि नमोस्तुते नारायणि नमोस्तुते। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीरामकृष्णायेति समर्पयामि। Slow and steady, peaceful breathing, please. As slow as possible. Full concentration on your breathing process. You are inhaling positive vibrations. All the positive vibrations will destroy the negativity in the mind and body. Breathe in vibrations of peace. Think deeply that these vibrations will destroy all the restlessness in the mind. Breathe out the vibrations of peace. Slowly inhale the vibrations of strength. All the vibrations will destroy the weaknesses in the mind and in the body. Breathe out the vibrations of strength. Now deeply inhale the vibrations of purity. These vibrations will destroy all the impurities in the mind and in the body. Breathe out slowly the vibrations of peace, of purity, of strength, of positivity. Now I will chant Sri Ramakrishna Dhyana Shlokam. Some of you may be knowing it. As you listen, please go on repeating. Om. Om. Hridaya Kamala Madhye Rajitam Nirvikalpam Sada Sada Kila Bheda Atitam Ekaswarupam Prakriti Vikriti Shunyam Nityamanandamurtim Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Nirupamamati Sukshmam Nishprapancham Nireham Gagana Sadrishamisham Sarvabhutadhivasam Triguna Rahita Sachid Brahmarupam Varenyam Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Vitaritum Avatirnam Gnana Bhakti Prashanti Pranaya Galita Chittam Jiva Dukkha Sahishnam Dhrita Sahaja Samadhim Chinmayam Komalangam Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha. Meditate on the divine blissful form of Sri Ramakrishna, who is Nityamananda Murti, who is Vimala Paramahamsa. Meditate where? In your own heart, the spiritual heart. Hridaya Kamala Madhye, the center of the lotus of the heart. Meditate, meditate, meditate. While sitting in meditation, think of Sri Ramakrishna watching you. Sri Ramakrishna is sitting in front of you, smiling at you, blessing you. Now I will recite, keep meditating, recollecting the blissful form and the sweet name of Sri Ramakrishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. 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 Sri Ramakrishna Stotram, composed by Swami Vivekananda himself, which we recite every day in the Ramakrishna Math temples and in many, many homes, private centers in the whole world. Om Hrim Rutam Tvam Achalo Gunajit Gunedyah Naktam Divam Sakarunam Tavapada Padmam Mohankasham Bahukrutam Nabhaje Yatoham Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. Thou art the Supreme Being, indicated by the Bija sounds of Om and Hri. Thou art the truth, immutable, who art beyond the sway of gunas, the natures, tamas, rajas, and sattva. Yet thy glory do the gunas proclaim. Day and night have I failed to worship thy delusion-destroying feet with a longing heart and firm determination. Therefore, thou art my sole refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost. Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. The second shloka I am reciting now and with meaning. Listen carefully with closed eyes, please. Bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam bhava bhedakari gachyantyalam suvipulam gamanaya tattvam vaktrodhritopi hridaye nacha bhati kinchit tasmat tvameva sharanam mama dina bandhu tasmat tvameva sharanam mama dina bandhu. Devotion, aspiration, and worship, breakers of worldly bondage, are indeed sufficient to take one to the supreme truth. While I talk much of these, my heart fails to reflect on them, even in the least. Therefore, thou art my sole refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost. Think of Sri Ramakrishna. Tasmat tvameva sharanam mama dina bandhu. While meditation is going on, please do not talk with anybody else. Behind the screen, behind your muted camera, that will disturb yourself, disturb others, disturb the atmosphere. Just be with yourself. Don't touch anything. Don't meddle with anything. Just be there. Think of the Lord. Think of Sri Ramakrishna. The third sloka I am reciting, listen carefully, please. Concentrate, concentrate. Tejas taranti tarasa Tvayi tripta trishna Rage kritir tapathe Tvayi Rama Krishne Martyamritam tava padam Maranor vinasham Tasmat tvameva sharanam Mama dina bandho. Those who have found the fulfillment of all their desires in thee and developed loving attachment to thee, O Ramakrishna, the apostle of truth and righteousness, they do overcome very soon the heat of the passions of thy heart, heat of the passions of the heart. Thy name is in sooth an immortal drink to thy devotees, a veritable dispeller of the waves of death. Therefore, thou art my sole refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost. Tasmat tvameva sharanam mama dina bandho. Krityam karoti kalusham puhakantakari Shnantam Shivam Suvimalam Tavanama Natha Yasmadaham Tvasharano Jagadeka Gamya Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. Lord, holy and sanctifying is thy name, ending with Shna. When we say Ramakrishna, the last word is Shna. Ending with Shna, destroying delusion in all and transforming sinners into saints. I am verily without any other shelter, O thou, the goal of all the worlds. Therefore, thou art my sole refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost, Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. Now let us chant the Omkaram 10 times. Full concentration. Go on repeating. Increase the quality of the devotion, concentration, and leading to meditation. Take a deep breath. Do not stop. Continue to repeat within the mind. It may be difficult, it may be easy, but don't stop. Don't give up. Try to keep your mind like a lamp in a windless place. Yatha dipo nivatasto nengate sopama smrita yogino yatha chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, shloka number 19. He said, Yatha dipo nivatastu. Visualize a lamp in a windless place. The flame of a lamp, sheltered from wind, does not flicker. This is the comparison used to describe a yogi's mind that is well under control and united with the Atman. Yogino yatachittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Yogi's mind is well under control and yunjato, united with the Atman. Om asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from false to truth. Lead us from death to immortality. Lead us from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge. Lead us from fear to fearlessness, from weakness to strength. Mentally think of Sri Ramakrishna again, Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. Let us offer our pranams. Kripam Kuru Mahadevi Suteshu Pranateshu Cha Charanashrayadanena Kripamayi Namostute Lajjapatavrite Nityam Sharade Gnanadayike Apebhyo na sada raksha Kripamayi Namostute Ramakrishna Gata Prana Tannama Shravana Priyam Tadbhava Ranjita Karam Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Pavitram Charitam Yasyaha Pavitram Jivanam Tatha Pavitrata Swarupinyai Tasyai Kurmo Namo Namaha Tasyai Kurmo Namo Namaha. I am bowing down again and again. Malli namaskaram చేస్తున్నాను. సాష్టాంగ నమస్కారం చేస్తున్నాను భావించండి. Mentally offer your pranam to Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda, and all great teachers and all great saints in the whole world. Let us offer our salutations, our pranam to the other 15 disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. It is good to recollect their personality also. Swami Brahmananda, Ramakrishna Bhavaputra, Brahmanandaya Namaha. Mahapurusha Mahayogi, Swami Shivanandaya Namaha. जगन्मातु प्रीतिपुत्र स्वामी योगानंदाय नमः। सिद्धयोगी महात्यागी स्वामी तुर्यानंदाय नमः। प्रेम रूप शांतिदाता स्वामी प्रेमानंदाय नमः। परमहंस दासदास स्वामी अद्भुतानंदाय नमः। गुणशील गुणातीत स्वामी त्रिगुणातीतानंदाय नमः। सर्वकर्म मर्मदर्शी स्वामी अभेदानंदाय नमः। विश्वप्रेमी विमल हृदय स्वामी अखंडानंदाय नमः। नित्य योगी सुनिर्मल निरंजनानंदाय नमः। बालभाव बालशील स्वामी सुबोधानंदाय नमः। परमहंस कृपा प्राप्त स्वामी अद्वैतानंदाय नमः। ज्ञान रूप शांत भाव विज्ञानानंदाय नमः। मातृभक्त मातृसेवी शारदानंदाय नमः। रामकृष्ण सेवा प्रेमी स्वामी रामकृष्णानंदाय नमः। देवदेव महादेव रामकृष्णाय नमः। पूर्ण ब्रह्म पूर्ण शक्ति श्री रामकृष्णाय नमः। शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। In the same meditative mood, meditative posture, I am going to recite Lalita Sahasranamam, 10 shlokas. Listen and absorb the Mother's grace. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Mahatantra Mahamantra Mahayantra Mahasana Mahayagakramaradhya Mahabhairava Pujita Maheshwara Mahakalpa Mahatandava Sakshini Mahakamesha Mahishi Mahatripura Sundari Chatushashtyupacharadhya Chatushashti Kalamai Mahachatushashti Koti Yogini Ganasevita Manuvidya Chandra Vidya Chandra Mandala Madhyaga Charu Rupa Charu Hasa Charu Chandra Kalathara Chara Chara Jagannatha Chakra Rajaniketana Parvati Padmanayana Padmaraga Samaprabha Pancha Preta Sanasina Pancha Brahma Swarupini Chinmayi Paramananda Vignana Ghanarupini Dhyana Dhyatra Dhyeya Rupa Dharma Dharma Vivarjita Vishwarupa Jagarini Swapanti Taijasatmika Supta Pragnatmika Turya Sarvavastha Vivarjita Srishtikartri Brahmarupa Goptri Govinda Rupini Samharini Rudra Rupa Tirodhanakarishwari Sada Shivanugrahada Panchakritya Parayana Bhanumandala Madhyastha Bhairavi Bhagamalini Padmasana Bhagavati Padmanabha Sahodari Unmesha Nimishotpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavalihi सहस्रशीर्ष वदना सहस्राक्षी सहस्रपाद। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत। श्री राम कृष्णार्पणमस्तु। Yes, namaste to everybody. Very good evening. Shubha Sandhya, Susandhya to all the participants, all the volunteers, devotees who are joining every Sunday. And you are learning various lessons, important ideas, with experiences of various volunteers who later evolved as devotees, who absorbed the spirit of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda, and the traditions of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. So whether it is the devotees, volunteers from Bengaluru, or from Pune, or Bapatla last Sunday, Naresh ji participated. So I've been trying to arrange these special experiences as a Ramakrishna follower, because wonderful people who are from their young age, school days, were participating, learning, involving, experiencing, getting the blessings of the senior monks and the presidents and the vice presidents of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. Anytime, anywhere, whether somebody is in Delhi, somebody is in Hyderabad, somebody is in a rural village, or in Belur Math, or in America, or in any other place. So some amount of absorption, devotion, faith, surrender, all these you have heard from Pune devotees and the Bangalore devotees. So make the best use of it, practice it, participate, and evolve in your spiritual journey. Difficulties will be there. Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika. So many physical level, at the atmosphere level, climate changes as it happening now. Then there is the mind, there is the unknown problems which you cannot handle. So that is why we say, Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. So that is in our hands, surrender. Some amount of prayatna has to be done. That is called the Manava Prayatna or the Shishya Prayatna. Then the rest is Daivi Kripa, the Anugraham of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. So we have with us today another wonderful friend and associate. I've been knowing him since 1979 or 80, if I'm not wrong. So that means the last 4 decades, right? So he is Mr. Jayant Srinivasan, who is now an NRI, should I say, living in the United States in Dallas. And he is joining us live from Dallas in the United States, thanks to technology, thanks to Zoom, thanks to other apps which are at a click distance. So I requested him to participate, share his lessons, his experiences as a volunteer, and now as a grown-up citizen of India and the world. So Jayant Srinivasan is a managing director of Red Comet, initially from Bengaluru, and he joined the VBS, as you heard, Anjan Kumar, Muralidhar, Gautam, and then we had V. Sheshadri, and we had Dr. Ravi Shankar, ENT specialist. All these are a big team of Vivekananda Balaka Sangha, and also evolved later as Vivekananda Yuvaka Sangha. See, Vivekananda Balaka Sangha is not just another institute. It's a very old one, 1955, started by Swami Yatishwaranandaji himself. who was the disciple of Swami Brahmanandaji. So that parampara is there, and followed by so many other monks, Swami Shastranji, then Prabhuddhanji, Purushottamanandaji for a very long time, and later other younger generation of monks. So all of them are part of that massive training program. Like in Hyderabad, we have Bala Vikas Kendra, which meets on Sundays, normal time, pre-COVID days. Okay. And many other centers have some children program, but Balak Sangha in Bangalore has got its own fragrance, its own uniqueness. So Jayant was one of the regular participants. He attended Balak Sangha until 1985, when he decided to travel to Canada to pursue his post-graduation education. He did his civil engineering in Bengaluru. He completed masters in Queen's University in Canada. In 96, he moved to Dallas to continue his career in telecommunications. And further journey goes on. At present, he started his own company called Red Comet, which is an educational company in the United States. We're very happy that he has turned into an educationist for over 500 public, 200 private, and hundreds of homeschooled students across the country. So he's still working, Jayant Ji, to grow his company and help students reach their full potential. This is in brief, just as my own elder brother, Jayant Ji. Namaste. Nice seeing you, Jayant. After a long time, though, you came here for a short stint to Hyderabad one early morning. And before that, we have fond memories in Bangalore. So these volunteers, devotees, mixed group, are all from different parts of the country, not just Hyderabad. We made it a national movement. Whoever is connected with Ramakrishna Math centers, whether in Kolkata or in Pune or Hyderabad or Andhra Pradesh or some places here and there, they have all joined, and they are continuing to join Sunday after Sunday, and other courses also. So we are happy that you have responded and you are available. And now the platform is yours for the next 20 minutes to share, or 25 minutes as you feel, the lessons of Balak Sangha, the lessons which that took you to be successful or be happy in your professional life. All that interesting things, whatever you can, like a conversation you can have with our members. So over to Jayant Ji. Namaste.
Namaste, Pranam Swamiji. It's so nice to see you. Yeah. I was there in Hyderabad in 2019 for a brief visit. So I was so happy to see you after a long time. Thank you very much. And I'm really honored that you thought about me, you invited me. I was in India last week. You wanted me to talk last Sunday. I couldn't be there because I was flying back to Dallas at that time. So I live in Dallas, Texas, but today I'm in Miami, Florida. This happens to be the Thanksgiving week in the United States. Okay. That's celebrated all over the country. So people get into an introspective mode and they want to thank about everything that is available to them. It doesn't matter what it is. So they want to take some time, and it's one of the most important weekends. People say it's more important than Christmas holidays, okay. Thanksgiving. Right. So this is when, even if families do not come together during Christmas, Thanksgiving, they always make sure the families get together and offer thanks to everything that they have. It's a very nice, beautiful concept. And my children, they get the entire week off from school. So we decided to come and spend some time in Miami. Sorry, I might look a little sleepy because by the time we checked into the hotel, it was 1:30 in the morning. Okay. But I'm really, really happy that you invited me, Swamiji, to share my experience. And what I am today is all because of my association with Ramakrishna Ashram in Bengaluru and also Vivekananda Balak Sangha. I've known Swamiji for a long time, as he said, almost 4 decades now. So I started coming to Vivekananda Balak Sangha in 1975 when I was 13 years old. Since then, I've known Swamiji really well. We interacted quite a bit. And that's when I started volunteering at the ashram. So, as Swamiji mentioned, when I joined Vivekananda Balak Sangha, it was being headed by Swami Purushothamanandaji, an extremely important monk of the Ramakrishna order. The number of young people Swamiji trained is unbelievable. He really molded people. So I started coming there when I was 13, 1975. I had the opportunity to be under him for an entire 10-year period. So that really set my life. See, the motto of Vivekananda Balak Sangha was Atmano Mokshartam Jagad Hitaicha, which means you want to fulfill your dreams and also go out and help the world. Swamiji is younger to me, and he took this literally, and he has been spreading this throughout his entire life. His whole life mission is to help people. So really appreciate that, Swamiji, what you're doing. And when I came and saw briefly what you're doing in Hyderabad, I was really impressed. So the training that I got from volunteering at the ashram is what made me today. So all the success I have today is all because of what I did at the ashram. Swamiji was really good in training people. So Swamiji used to say, look, Jayant, it's not just enough if you study well and go and get a job. He says, what I want you to do is be an entrepreneur or an industrialist, as they call it in India. He said, I want you to go out and hire a few people. Just go out and hire 3 or 4 people. So instead of working for yourself and your family, he said, go out and help some people. He said, that not only helps you grow, but it'll also help others. And I wanted to try this out. So after completing my master's and PhD, I also moved to the United States and did my MBA. And I thought I'll become a professor, which was not a bad thing. But then I thought about what Swamiji said. I said, why don't I try being an entrepreneur? That's when in 2000, I quit and started my own company. Thanks to all the help, I had a lot of help from people. And literally for this company, many of the volunteers I worked with and many of the people that I worked with at the Balak Sangha, they actually came and helped me out with the company. The company grew very successfully. It's all because of the great management team we had. Then in 2010, I started this education company, and that's what I'm running today. So being in the field of education, and we work with students all the way from kindergarten, that's in nursery school, until they graduate high school, we call it. High school here is until grade 12. So we're working with students, we're helping a lot of students complete their education. A lot of students who have difficulty at school, we also help those students, and it gives a lot of satisfaction. We're trying to see if we can help children in India also. So that's what I do. And as I said, my success so far is all because of my association with the ashram. So now I want to open it up and see if people have any questions about my experience and what you want to know about what I do and all that.
Yeah, you can tell about how you balance the life and your principles, one in Bangalore and then in the United States in a foreign setup. How did you balance that life and your work and life? That is the main issue in India today. People are not able to maintain time or something, and they give excuses, the usual human nature, the weakness. So how did that training there as a volunteer, as a devotee, help you to evolve in life?
That's a very important point, Swamiji, because time, nobody has time. Even a person that doesn't do anything always says, I don't have time. So time is what you make out of it. So what I learned from my association with the ashrama and Balak Sangha is you need to set a routine. You need to make sure your body gets used to that routine. And once you do that, it's just amazing how much time you actually have that you did not have before. That's one thing that ashram taught me, is to be very punctual about everything. So that's the only place in India where, people always make fun of Indian Standard Time, right? So nothing actually starts on time. But when I started coming to the ashram, every function, everything that they do, it's exactly on time. If it starts at 5:30, it starts at 5:30. No questions asked, right? That really helped me understand what you can do potentially with time. So that really helped me balance my life and time, because it gets very, very hectic with everything that you do. The life in the United States is very, very fast moving. So when it's fast moving, what happens is people get lost. They don't know what to do. They get confused. But my association and training from Swami Purushothamananda Ji and all the other great monks I've been associated with, they really kind of helped me understand how to manage time. So that made me successful today because of what I learned there.
Any fond memories of Balak Sangha activities, any incident, anything which you think is worth sharing with our present generation of volunteers?
Yeah, what I learned from Balak Sangha is a lot of people think when you're associated with Sri Ramakrishna Ashrama or Vivekananda Balak Sangha, you're talking about spirituality and other things. But what I learned from Balak Sangha is it's all-round development. They talk about multiple things, what you can do. One experience I remember is once we decided to have a science exhibition in Ramakrishna Ashram, which is very unusual. So it was so successful that kids had all kinds of experiments and things that they displayed. So it was a very wonderful nature. So wonderful experience I got from ashram when we interacted, and we were doing other things other than spirituality. So that's what I remember.
Interesting memories, and we'll keep it open to our devotees or volunteers who may ask. Venkatji, you are our faculty. Anything you want to say or ask Mr. Jayant in the United States? Venkatji, 1 minute. I'll unmute. Yeah, you can unmute now. Unmute and speak.
Yeah. Thank you, Swamiji. Namaste. Namaste, Jayantji. It's wonderful to know that you got the right training under Swami Purushothamananda Ji. And what exactly are the overall development? Like holistic development is what is important. Can you just throw light how the teaching here and the teaching over there up to the graduation level, right? What exactly is the training that added value to your life, which has sparked you to start an educational institute?
Yeah, very nice question. Jayant.
Yeah, what I learned from the way education happens between India and here is in India, when I graduated, so you study a lot, you try to remember a lot, you memorize a lot. Whereas the system of education in the United States is slightly different. They talk about practical aspects right from the beginning. Everything that you study has to have some application. So they try to talk about applications. So although after a certain stage, when you go to college and things like that, people can learn either ways, but the way they're taught from grade 1 to 12 is so different from the two countries. Each system has its own advantages, but I think a combination of the two is really good in terms of getting people ready for the workforce.
What Yeah, what is that that education that you are providing off school? Is it separate department and what is
No,
that?
so, we are part of the school system. We're actually an online school.
Okay,
So students can come from grades. Usually we focused on high school. What happens in this country is when students get to high school because of economic difficulty or because they're into sports or multiple reasons, they may not be able to attend school from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they want different ways to learn. So that was the initial idea behind starting Red Comet. And what kids can do, they can do schooling from anywhere they are. As you mentioned, with Zoom and everything, they don't have to be sitting at their school desk. So that was the initial idea behind Red Comet. And when the pandemic hit, every school wanted to do remote learning because they couldn't come to school. So now we are part of the public school systems. So students can do completely remotely even today, or they can learn at the school. People use, or teachers use Red Comet, they open it up and they get a complete guide on what they need to teach. So students come to Red Comet, they can also earn a high school diploma, as we call it, 12th grade, second pre-university, as they call it in India, and from there they can go to college.
okay, okay. Interesting, very nice. Hemant, anything you want to say or question? Hemant is there?
Thank you.
Yeah, Hemant.
Yes, Pranam Maharaj, Pranam Jayanji. Very good to know that, the reason behind you venturing into setting up your own company and becoming a successful one and providing opportunities, work opportunities, and to several other people. It's very inspiring and definitely something that we all should learn from. Thank you very much. Just
you did not introduce yourself.
My name is Hemant Meruga, and I'm a director in Amdocs. We are into IT, specifically into telecom products. I think you must be aware.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
Amdocs very well. I was in telecommunications for almost like 15 years. So.
Yes. So,
Excellent.
yeah, thank you very much. Just maybe you can share from the work experience perspective, right? I mean, we often meet very nasty people in the leadership level, who are quite, who are not very nice people. I mean, their whole philosophy is around money and power. They don't believe in compassion and all those kind of values, or at least if they believe, they don't show it, or So, have you had a chance to to do some work with such kind of people, and how do you deal with those situations from all the learnings you had from the mentorship in the Ramakrishna Mission and from the Swamis?
That's a very, very good question and a difficult question to answer. I completely agree with you. Some managers are really good. They motivate you. They bring the best out of you. But some managers are always trying to put you down. So I've had those experiences personally myself too. So what I realized is even with a manager or your superior who is really nasty to you, you can somehow turn that situation around to help you better. So essentially what happens is a lot of times what I realize is it's the personal ego that really makes people behave in a certain way. So in order to conquer that, what probably is the best thing to do is to try to feed their ego in the beginning. So sometimes when you try to get defensive, that's when the relationship starts to deteriorate faster. So instead, turn that around. You kind of like figure out what makes them happy. If it's their ego, feed their ego initially, then you try to break into that thing. You break the ice, then you get closer. So I personally had an experience with the manager. I thought he completely hated me. So he didn't like me. He would put me down so much, and he would always go directly to my direct reports and talk to them and bypassing me. So it went on for a couple of months. Afterwards, I kind of like remembered what I learned from Ramakrishna Ashram, what Swami Purushottamanandaji used to say, how to deal with people. When I talk about Swami Purushottamanandaji, he is probably one of the the best person I've seen in terms of interacting with people and relationship building and things like that. So when I kind of use that strategy, things really turned around. And today, that manager that didn't like me is one of my best friends. He calls me all the time, although I don't work for him, and we're really good friends. The situation turned around. So I think you need to first understand what the dynamics are. Then I strongly believe that you can change people. What you see initially is not what is going to stay, so you can always work around that.
The blending and that, what you call the absorption of the spirit is very, very important. Which
Absolutely. Yes.
And our volunteer devotee wants to ask you something about education, India's concept, and then your other aspects, what you have been doing there. Yeah.
So good morning, sir. This is Rachaya here.
Namaste.
We are very happy to see you after a long time here, of 4 decades as Maharaj introduced you. We are very happy and very delightful to see you over there at this point of time. You are spending time for us. And my small question for you is, now recently India is going to change the education policy as currently at US, like schooling, high schooling, like till +2, it is going to be called as high school and all. The syllabus pattern still it is not yet finalized, but the trend it is going to be similar to abroad situations. So how, I hope you might have gone through the entire plan as per new policy. Do you suggest any it is going to be better for India, and how it is going to be for us?
The difference that you see there now, and do you think it is on par with the philosophy and the values and the other things that we have now?
It's a good question. So I really don't know what changes the Indian government is talking about. But one good thing about the Indian education system is, although it doesn't give the practical aspects as much as what the American system does, so Indian education is very superior compared to the education system I've seen at different places, even in the United States. When you're talking about somebody who is in 10th grade, 10th standard in the United States, and take a student from 10th standard in India, somebody who had the privilege to go to a good school with good education system, students from India tend to do much better than students in the United States. I think the Indian education system is good. It has good aspects, but I really don't know what the government is looking at in terms of changing. I hope they look at the best between the two systems and come up with something that'll be good for students. I'm not very familiar with the system that you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you the briefing of that 60 points which they have mentioned of the NEP, National Education Policy. You can go through that.
Absolutely. Yes.
What is the changes, or what do you think can be the best happening in the country, because we are going in a different direction with the government policies, with Modi and everything. and how your Red Comet and other educational system there, private or public? What is that we are lacking or we are going forward? And one thing which intrigues me is, all the students there who get connected with us, we have a weekend Bala Vikas for NRIs in Canada and USA.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, 50 of them joined the last batch, and now because of winter vacations, etc., number is small, but the amount of concentration, our own children there, born there or who have migrated there because of their parents, what inspires me is their questioning, their curiosity, their interest to learn of the shlokas, the stories. Similarly, like Balak Sangha, we are conducting yogasanas, meditation, chantings, moral classes. There's something special in that our own children studying there, rather than our boys who may not be fully concentrating or may not be regular in their practices. Our NRI children are so fantastic. It inspires me to give more knowledge to them, spend more time to them, their respect. How is that difference that we have seen? You have seen our Indian children, we ourselves, you're also part of the system. Now you have gone there, your children are studying there. How do you think, what clicks that? And the spelling bee competition or your NASA, all our Indians are there flourishing. But what is that small that we are missing here?
That's a good question, Swamiji. I think, what I see, the success that most Indian students here have is because of the family upbringing that's lacking in the normal American families. So Indian families are very closely knit, and parents are really good in terms of telling students what is good, their children what is good, and parents train children from a very young age. So it becomes more of a habit forming than really wanting to learn. So a couple of years ago, they had the Bhagavad Gita competition here. Swami Japanandaji came for this. And in Dallas itself, it was amazing to see 200 children starting from the age of 5, reciting the entire 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Beautifully, everything memorized. This can only happen with Indian children, and I don't think any other country children can do this. It's all because of the upbringing, and that's why it's very important for people to be associated with the right kind of mindset, right? So that is very important. The Sangha, the association, is very important in getting the best out of children. Without good association, kids cannot thrive. I think that's where Indian kids in America thrive, because they're being associated with the right kinds of people. Even here, Indian kids are very good at attending Chinmay Mission classes or going to Bala Vikas classes, and that really, really helps students.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice, True. Kranti Bhushan, you want to ask something? You have raised your hand. You have to unmute and speak.
Yeah. Namaste Maharaj. Namaste Jayanji.
Namaste.
My question is, what triggered you to start education institute? Means I want to ask that in USA, and all the members go for corporate or any other field. But what made you to start education institute?
Yeah, that's a good question. As I said, after completing my PhD, I wanted to be a professor teaching at a college. But the way things turned out, I became an entrepreneur in telecommunications. After doing that for 10 years, I said, it's time for me to think about giving back to the society, right? So what can we do? What's the best way to contribute to the society and give your time back? That's when I said, with my education background and all that, it's a good idea to start education. And I said, if you want to do good in education, you need to start molding children at a very young age. So instead of drifting towards college education, I said, let's focus on kindergarten through 12th grade education. What can we do to help? And that's what really motivated me to get into education.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Gopi Garu. Gopi ji is another devotee who is in Dallas. He is connected with us since a long time. He is from Andhra Pradesh. Gopi, are you there? Gopi?
Yes, Swamiji. Namaste, Swamiji. Namaste.
Dallas లోనే ఉన్నారా మీరు?
అవునవును Swamiji.
మీ ఊరాయని పిలిపించని చూసుకోండి.
I was shocked. Just now I saw that message, Swami. Yesterday I was at another event, so I couldn't see the message. Namaste ji. Namaste ji.
Hey, Gopi, you live in Dallas?
Yes, sir. In Frisco right now.
Frisco, do you live in Richwoods?
The near to Richwood, it is in other community actually. It's actually, I came temporarily here, like, couple of months, and most of the time I'm staying in India itself.
Okay, excellent. Yeah,
So,
I live in Frisco too. Frisco is a suburb of Dallas, so it's a lot of Indian people in Frisco, and we have a nice Hanuman temple there. That's
I know that. I'm a devotee there actually. So I saw that the 200 people came for that chanting. It was happened in Hanuman temple.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And I live in Rollator and Hillcrest intersection.
Yeah, that's very close. That's such a coincidence, right? Only about a mile away from where we are.
Oh, okay.
When you go back, you can meet him, or as long as he's there, you can get connected.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anytime, Jay, I'm very interested to meet you anytime. Like, I can come anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can. I will send you. Swamiji, you can send me Gopi's contact, so I'll get in touch with him.
Very nice.
Sure.
Prasad Reddy garu, మీ అనుభవం, మీ ఏదైనా ప్రశ్న, ఏదైనా కామెంట్స్? ప్రసాద్ రెడ్డి, unmute. Yeah.
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste.
Hi, sir. Jay, sir. Nice to see you and hear you. Such a wonderful person. You are for last. Your association for last 40 years with, especially with Ramakrishna mission and all. And two questions from my side to you. One is you chosen this as an entrepreneur. And how is this you have taken this idea from Ramakrishna Mission, or normally everybody when they do, they will settle, they do themselves for their career and all. So that is one. So what makes you to make this, and how you are going to manage this? And the second is in this RedCom which you are talking about, is this, can you elaborate more on what kind of topics are any culture of this Ramakrishna, this thing is cultivated in this thing? What kind of things you are going to be teach online courses on this? Srinivasan?
Thank you. Thank you. I think my being an entrepreneur is 100% credited to what Swami Purushothamananda ji. So Swami Purushothamananda ji used to run Vivekananda Balak Sangha. So he used to tell me, he used to talk to me. I think, he could see what the potential in people is. And he would always say, Jayant, you had to go become an entrepreneur. You had to hire people. Because even when I was ready to go abroad for my higher studies, he used to talk to people one-on-one, and he said, Jayant, I want you to become an entrepreneur. I want you to go and help people. Okay. That's really, that was always behind in my mind. I said, I need to make that happen. As I said, after you graduate college, you always end up getting a job, which is very good. You gain some good experience. And after working in the industry for about 8 years, then I went back and I said, I need to be an entrepreneur. Let me try it out, because I never had that background. None of my parents or anybody in my family is an entrepreneur, but I said, let's try it out. And that's what got me inspired to become an entrepreneur. In terms of Red Comet, As I mentioned, so we're a regular school. So we offer all the basic classes, science, math, social studies, English, languages. We offer English, French, German, Spanish, and other courses. And also what we do is we offer about 200 elective courses.
Okay.
So the education in the United States gives a lot of flexibility to children on what they want to study. So even at high school level, although in India, electives are more common when you come to colleges, here, even at high school, middle school students also tend to take some electives. So what we have done is created several career pathway. So we have a pathway called computer science. What kids want to do. So starting at 9th standard, they can start taking courses in computer science so that they can also get a diploma in computer science by the time they complete their 12th grade. So what we have noticed is by training people in skills that they have, that they're interested in, increases the chances of them going to higher education and be more successful in life. So that's why we offer about 200 elective courses along with all the basic classes that students need to complete their education.
Any plans for India also?
Yeah, we're exploring the potential in India. Indian education system is slightly different, but we're starting to see a lot of interest from India, especially after COVID. Before COVID, anything to do with remote learning, online learning was not very well received in India, but COVID completely changed that.
Change the perception.
Exactly. Now, instead of saying remote learning or online learning does not work, they're saying potentially there is some possibility in online learning. Again, I'm not a proponent of online learning full time for students because that social interaction is very, very important. That's part of the learning process. But what we do can be used in a blended learning format. When I say blended learning, so you're mixing online learning with in-classroom learning. So that's where I see the future going towards. And now that that concept is open, what we are thinking for India is, can we help Indian students get to experience the American way of education? For example, we have 150 teachers who work for Red Comet. So we want to go to private schools or any schools or public schools and remote village schools and say, why don't we, instead of doing everything remotely, kids are coming to school, let's have an American teacher teach you English. This is a full course. This could be 10th standard English course. Instead of an Indian teacher teaching, we use Zoom sessions for an American teacher to come to the classroom remotely and teach the class. Exactly the same thing that goes on so that children get to experience both sides of it. It could be a science class, it could be a physics class, but now it's being taught by an American teacher. So we can bring in that perspective. That's what we're thinking of doing in India. And it's still new. I just wanted to explore the market and see how it works. Looks like there is a lot of interest. And also students who want to come abroad for further studies, we can help them get a concurrent 12th grade certification from the United States. So when they come to college here, they can say they already have a certificate from the United States. What we do is we match the curriculum from India and find out what the differences are so that they can complete the additional classes remotely and get a high school diploma from the US.
Very nice.
Potential is there, lots of potential.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Subhajit Saha, our new friend, has joined from Hyderabad. You want to say something, Subhajit Saha, or ask a question? Subhajit ji. 1 second. Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. Yes, you can unmute. Subhajit.
Thank you, Swamiji. It's a pleasure to join. And thank you, Jay sir. It's really great to hear you. My question is that to the upcoming entrepreneurs, if you see today's model, a lot of fintech and edtech startups have come in the space. So what will be the USP to differentiate between for young entrepreneurs? Because at the end of the day, when an entrepreneur talks to the potential customers or the entire fraternity which they are aiming, I'm sure that there is some USP and ethics, and it is now the world is more looking towards quality rather than cost, because if the cost is also high, the quality matters. So, what would be your message to people who would like to start edtechs and fintechs, because I think they are the future, and what is the percentage of AI and going into your space? Because at the end of the day, giving education is one, and then analyzing whether they're able to grasp it and then take it, and then kind of using AI or some kind of a test based system where they can actually then restructure the module and deliver, because each student is different, the grasping power is different. So what would be the two questions? What is the USP? Because I think the trend is in India, you see Byju's, then there is so many edtechs coming in, then there's a lot of food delivering app coming in. So the sustainability is, and then so what is the message for them, people who would like to enter into edtech? And the second thing is, how do you actually put in that model where you can actually get back more from your business model to the society? Thank you so much for giving this opportunity, Swamiji. Pleasure.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's a great question, right? So how technology can help in the field of education is to understand that not one system works for every student. So every student is different. The way they learn, the way they thrive is different. So the previous model of using one thing that fits every student, that concept doesn't work. So when you do that, what happens is maybe that'll work for 60% of the students, the other 40%, they have certain skills, because not a single student is inferior to another student. Everybody has potential. But if an edtech company can understand how to exploit that potential, that will go a long way. That's not there yet. So the reason why there is failure in the education system is not because the student is not intelligent or good, because the system did not understand what the potential is for that student. So we talk about autism and things like that, right? They talk about autism spectrum. Kids could be in any range of autism. Just because a child is autistic doesn't mean that the child will not do well in life. So there are other ways they learn. It may not be through reading books or going to a class, but they learn different things. So once we can understand, once there's some tools or technology that can really understand what really clicks with the student, and being able to bring the education and put that kind of perspective or the filter in the way you teach education, that will go a long, long way. We don't have that yet, but that's where you're talking about AI. That's where AI could help. So take the education system. We call this formative education, right? Formative assessments. So you understand the student first, and based on that, you deliver the education on how they would like to, they understand it. Some are audio learners, some are video learners. So you need to understand that. That's where I think the EdTech technology has to improve, and there is huge potential there. If you can do that, then you can make sure you can bring the best out of people.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure. Thank you.
Last question, please, from Hemant.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Jayanji, a quick question to understand your perspective, because from the way I look at it is, 20 years ago, America was a very, wonderful country to go study, work, settle, and whatnot. But at least from last, I don't know, several years that I see, because of various reasons such as, immigration constraints, also the upgrade of institutes in India, for example, the research and the level of the professors that are available now in India, and the funding that they get for research and for doctoral programs, etc. in India. So students are preferring to be, in India, do their education here, do their own startups here, and because also the economy has been relatively pumped up to such an extent that almost, it doesn't seem like, one needs to leave the country and go abroad to settle well. So what is your perspective, I mean, on this, that we see that, more and more people want to stay in India, do something for the country, to do all their whatever they want, it's available here, so no need to go to another country. What is your perspective? What is the lens that you see from US?
Absolutely, that's good because technology has made a lot of things possible. You don't have to leave the country. You can thrive in India. You can succeed, and a lot of nice things coming out of India too in terms of technology and everything, right? So as long as people are open to what's happening outside, and that's what technology has done in the last 15 to 20 years. So sitting in India, you can experience what's going on in the entire world. You don't have to be in the United States. You don't have to come here. When I came here 32 years ago, things were a little different. We didn't have the same things available. So to get that experience, you had to come all the way to the United States to see what's going on, to learn from here. It's a great experience because only when you leave the country, when you go far away, you get to understand how wonderful the country is, right? So when you're immersed in that, you don't realize how nice it is. When you go outside, you say, wow, that was good, right? So there's everything available in India. You don't have to go to the United States, whether to make money, that's somebody's objective, or whether to learn, get all kinds of experience. But there are always benefits to it. So what I would encourage people is travel. Traveling is always very helpful, right? You get to experience life firsthand, and that can bring a lot of good experiences to your life.
Totally agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice, Jayant, listening to you and learning a lot. Our friends, our volunteers have learned and new exposure because you are there, you are working there, studied there, grew up in life, and then your entrepreneurship now into education. Because now there is a burning question about morality, moral values among children, especially the addiction, the crimes, and the exposure. Is your system, is your COMET and other things thinking about it? How we can give this moral support, moral strength to the youth, just like Balak Sangha classes, which gave us moral strength, learning to say no to certain things and some discrimination, that kind of how our children are waging the war there, and how they are, and how you think the future will be with all the gadgets and all that exposure that they have. The moral crisis is prevalent today, as you might have experienced.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Swamiji. That's a very, very difficult thing to tackle, right? So what we are trying to do is we have some courses that we teach that kind of talks about what the end effect is in not having a moral life, right? So if they do something, we tell them these are the repercussions from it.
Yeah.
And so that people at a very young age understand that it's not just the initial pleasure that these things give you, right? You have to look at what the end result will be. So we're hoping by telling them the truth. A lot of times people get into addictions and things like that because they're only looking at the early gratification they get from doing those things. They don't know the long-term implications. By trying to paint a complete picture, not just a partial picture, we're hoping students, children understand what these things, what the repercussions are by going into an immoral lifestyle, getting into drugs and alcohol abuse and things like that, or smoking. So that's what we're trying to do. That's a very difficult problem to tackle, but I think we're making some progress.
Yeah.
That's where the association with religious institutions, that'll really help, because students
All our
need to
children, all the NRI somehow or the other, whether it's Chinmaya Mission, whether it's Satya Sai, whether it is Art of Living or Vedanta societies, I think they are connected with that in one way or the other to protect our own children.
Absolutely, Swamiji. That's something that I see with NRI children, Indian children, so they're doing extremely well. That kind of background and upbringing is what is making them successful, right?
Yeah.
Indians are successful worldwide. They're extremely, extremely successful. And a lot of that credit goes to the upbringing.
Yeah, fantastic. Very nice. Shiva Bharat, what do you want to say, please? Last question, time up. Shiva Bharat. Unmute, unmute. Unmute, Jay Babu. Yeah.
Good evening, Swamiji. Pranam, Swamiji. Good evening, Jayan sir. Sir, at present, there is a lot of unemployment in India, sir. Many people are jobless. So what is the way forward, sir? How to overcome this problem of unemployment? People have become graduates, they have graduates, master degrees, everything. They have had the qualification, but what is lacking? There is some serious problem of the unemployment, going on. So what is the way forward, sir? How to overcome this problem? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's a difficult problem to overcome, right? So I think technology is trying to help bridge that gap. So the work skills needed today is different from what was needed 10 years ago. So the unemployment is mainly because sometimes what they learn in school is not applicable, right? By opening up new things and making sure that they're learning skills. As I said, you really don't need a lot of education. You don't need a master's or a PhD to do a certain task. So what we need to be looking at is training people. Skill-based training, vocational training is very, very important in terms of making sure people secure a job after education, right? If you just study your science, math, social studies, English, and all that, that will not prepare you for the workforce. Instead, you can start at 10th grade or 9th standard or 10th standard and start teaching certain skill sets that will be useful in the workforce. By doing that, pretty much everybody, since the workforce is global now, right? So it's not just local. They don't have to work for a local company. They can be sitting home and working for a company. You could be working for Microsoft in Seattle, but you could be based in a little village somewhere in India, right? So training kids, training children with those skill sets that's required will go a long way.
So, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so we conclude here with a small message announcements. So Jayant, on behalf of all the participants or faculty and young volunteers, devotees all over the country, I convey my namaskars to you. Thank you, and hope to see you occasionally at least, if not.
Thank you, Swamiji. I keep coming to India at least 2 or 3 times a year. COVID kind of prevented that, but since things are getting better, I'll definitely come and see you, spend some time with you.
Please come, please come. And by the time, hopefully all the activities of the classes are all now still online now. I also entered into the online mode and conducting all these courses as just we are doing. From tomorrow evening, we have meditation course for 5 days in the evening, 6:15, 7:30 time in the Indian time. If you are able to join, it will be nice, or send the message to your friends there, or some people whose time is maybe convenient in the US, wherever they are. And this is a weekly program. So hope to see you occasionally, or if not in the near future. Kashinath is in India only. Kashi?
Yeah, he's in India. He's Bangalore, yes.
Okay. He's working and
Yes,
doing
yes.
something.
Yeah, he's also an entrepreneur. He has a factory where he manufactures mechanical and electronics components.
Right. Very nice. Hope to see him also next time when I go to Bangalore or online.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody. Thank you.
Namaste and greetings to your family, and hope to see them all online or physically in Hyderabad or somewhere in the near future. May Sri Ramakrishna bless you. May Holy Mother bless you, and Swamiji bless you, and take your family forward to be great contributors of change in the society. See you all next time. Thank you very much. Vandanam. Dhanyavada.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just conclude with a small point, the kind of training that we get and the kind of goal that we have to set. Keep in mind, all of you, in the Kathopanishad, we get the idea of Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyascha Preyascha Manushya Metaha Tau Samparityo Vivinakti Dhiraha Shreyo hi dhiro bhi preyaso vrunite Preyo mando yoga kshemad vrunite. Two things. One is the good and the other is the pleasant. One is the comfort and another is the effort. These two come before man in a plate, in a golden plate as it were. However clever a man may be, however efficient he may fight the battle of life, one day death is bound to defeat him. For never is immortality eternal. For never is immortality, eternal bliss, everlasting peace, and freedom possible for man on this earth. That is why a rare discriminating man, the man with that buddhi, awakened buddhi, the rare discriminating man, this is from Kathopanishad, okay? Desiring immortality, turns his eyes away and then sees the indwelling self. Paranchikani vyatrinat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyati na antaratman kaschid dhiraha pratyagatmanam aikshat avritta chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. What a wonderful idea, you see. Avritta chakshuhu. That is why a rare discriminating man desiring immortality. Amritatvam icchan. He does not want just the bhoga, just the aishwarya, just the worldly comforts. He wants immortality, moksha, amritatvam. What does he do? Such a person is called dhira purusha. Kaschid dhiraha. There are some great people. There are some wonderful people who challenge nature. Meditation is all about challenging nature. Nature, you see, when water flows, when the water flows, the river flows, what happens? All these things get washed out. They get carried away somewhere, goalless. There is no space, there is no time, there is no car. It just gets washed out. We are all like that. But then meditation, satsangam, chanting, omkaram, seva, all that is swimming against the current. Swimming against the current. When you swim against the current, you need little more willpower. You need little more grace. You need little more company, compassion, that inner urge for immortality. Why people climb Mount Everest? What is there in that? Are they having a tea party there? Are they having an online conference there? Are they having a meditation session on Mount Everest? Those who have climbed, in their interviews, we know that they cannot stay more than 15 minutes maybe less than 15 minutes, whether it's Arunima Sinha, whether it's Shekhar Gaud, whether it is the other great mountaineers from 1953 onwards. Just hardly 10 to 15 minutes. For that, years and years of sadhana. No oxygen, dangerous. One wrong step, 10,000, 12,000 feet, the body will collapse, will fall. They'll be frozen to death, and they are aware of the problems. And we call them Dhira Purushas, mountaineers. Mountaineering is a great sadhana. That is climbing against gravitation, right? No oxygen. They are not having some tea party there. And one mistake is enough, as you know, it will ruin their entire career. Life itself is gone. So imagine, and that same principle, if I can adopt in morality, same principle, if I can adopt in my meditation, in my spiritual life, what an amount of joy and strength and fulfillment you will get. Kaschid dhiraha pratyagatmanamaikshat avritta chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. And the earlier shloka which I quoted, Shreyas and Preyas, last point, keep this in mind. For every man, there are two sorts of ideals to choose. One is the good Shreyas and another is the pleasant Preyas. Both the good and the pleasant present themselves to a man. The bold and intelligent man examines them well and discriminates. He prefers the good to the pleasant. But the manda buddhi, the word used is the fool or the manda buddhi. He chooses the pleasant out of greed and avarice, moha and lobha. The good refers to the path of spiritual realization, and the pleasant refers to the life in the world. A wise man prefers the spiritual path, not because it is easy, but because that is the only path by which he can attain the cherished ideal of his life, everlasting bliss, peace, freedom, immortality, as well as cessation of misery. There is no other way. Nanyah pantha vidyate ayanaya. There is no other path. This is the path, path to realization, path to fulfillment of choosing the higher values, higher purpose in life. You continue to live in the world. And Sri Ramakrishna says, do not allow the world to live in you. That is detachment. That is discrimination. Whether in America, whether in UK, whether in India, whether in a village, whether in New York, whether anywhere. There are eternal values. As they say in English, sun is a sun is a sun. S-U-N. The sun in Dallas, the sun in Hyderabad, the sun in Kolkata, the sun in Delhi is the same. Surya Bhagavan is the same. The rose is a rose is a rose. Similarly, values can be taken anywhere, only the situation, only the drama is different. The company will be different, but the value is to be maintained. Discrimination and higher purpose of life. So Sunday after Sunday, we are trying to arrange like this and create a little more atmosphere for you, because so that next 5-6 days, whether you attend the courses or whether you do your own personal sadhana or work, it will have a tremendous impact and support to all of you. Okay, this much for today. And with this announcement, for those who did not know or who don't know till now, this is a class which is starting tomorrow. Okay, the course starting mind control made easy, or practical meditation as I used to call it, for youth and professionals. Focus on teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And this teaching will be on the 16th chapter, which we have been doing regularly. Okay. 15th chapter we completed last 5-6 months. Now I'm going into the 16th chapter from tomorrow. That is a 5-day program. In the evening, online course registration is going on. Your friends and yourself can participate without any hesitation. Evening time, 22nd November to 26th November, 5 days. Don't worry about the age limit. If there are elders in your family, just naam ke vaste we have put the age. They can be 55, 60 also. We did not look at that while editing. It's a small error, doesn't matter. So time is very flexible, very convenient, late evening, 6:15, 7:30, and the registration fee and this is all common. Online registration process, please visit rkmat.org/VIHE and enroll now. This is for all of you to join and tell others also to join and make the best use out of it. Okay. So we shall end with a prayer and meet again next Sunday and tomorrow evening for the classes. Please sit straight, close your eyes. Om Priyatam Pundari Kakshaha Sarva Yagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Shubharatri, Shubharatri, Shubharatri to all of you. Shubhadinam, Shubhavaram. May Shri Ramakrishna bless you all. May Holy Mother blessings be on you all and your family. And may Swamiji inspire you and guide you to great heights of excellence and divinity. And we shall meet next Sunday. Those who are joining the course tomorrow evening, 6:50. Thank you. And thank you once again, Jayant, and all others for their participation. We leave the meeting now.